Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Thiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. You can find us on television, channel 182 Charter Communications, Abundance Television, syndicated, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com and all social media sites. We've got YouTube, we've got Facebook, a bunch of Facebook Lives, and MeWe. If it's social media, we're doing that as well. But thank you again so much for watching. You can also send emails, and I encourage that. And I'm going to tell you what, it really makes my day when I hear from you. Send an email to donna@donnasedge.com, donna@donnasedge.com. And again, thank you so much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. Continue sending ideas for the shows, because I'm telling you, you're the force behind all of this. You're the reason we do this. I also want to thank all of our wonderful, wonderful sponsors. By the way, go to mypillow.com. Mike Lindell's mypillow.com. Use promo code Donna. They're running such super deals right now. So if you're thinking about upcoming spring where you're going to redo all of your towels and your sheets, now's the time. Because right now they've got plenty of those things in stock. Again, mypillow.com. Use special promo code Donna. And also Bobby Ledbetter with TwinCityUsedCarSales.com has been at the Gadsden Mall, which is flourishing too, by the way, the Gadsden Mall. And thank you guys so much for what you're doing here in our communities. And also, Bobby, go ahead and check him out. I would not buy a car from anyone. And he's worth, wherever you're living in the United States, he's worth coming to Alabama for, because this guy really cares about community and about you as a customer as well. You don't see that very often, especially in car sales, but you'll see that through Bobby Ledbetter and his wonderful staff. Right now, they are at the Gadsden Mall. He's also on Megan Boulevard in Gadsden as well. So again, thank you so much, Bobby, and all of our wonderful sponsors for everything that you do to help us keep this going. I have Chuck and Mary Lynn Bailey with me right now. They are with Alabama Fair Tax. And wow, guys, we've been plowing at it a long time. Just had another guest, and we were talking, I was talking with him. He was talking about the state of Alabama. A lot of money being blown on stupid things, and in the state, within the state of Alabama, and within other states as well. But we're specifically talking about Alabama and how fair tax would actually help and spread that money the right way.
Yeah. Good to be with you, Donna.
Thank you. It's always good to be with you.
We always watch this time of year to see what those guys are talking about, and the jerks are going back to the lottery and gambling already. They're going to waste all the time on that stuff. They could put the fair tax, the Alabama's fair tax, into place, and they're going to make it a lot easier on everybody. They're going to lower the prices of everything. They're going to get rid of all the income tax reporting and all of the funds that go to that to keep the ADR going. And so
that's the Alabama Department of Revenue, by the way. So
So, and all of that to say that all of that money that's spent on that garbage is taken out of our economy and spent on somehow by the government. So we need to have a system like the fair tax nationwide and in Alabama to get rid of that kind of waste. And hopefully Elon and Vivek will take care of that in the short term. But you're going to have something like that happen, or we're going to be fighting this battle forever. And, they're already talking about the renewing the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. And so, I was watching the Ways and Means Committee chairman. He was talking about, we got that removing the tips on tax, and we got the Social Security being untaxed and all, and we got
taxing overtime.
Yeah, and not taxing overtime, and so we've got to go through all of that, and we've got to figure out how that affects. And I'm saying, no, you don't. All you got to do is pass the fair tax. You don't care about all that garbage.
I mean, what did you figure out? I mean, I'm not really getting that argument whatsoever.
No.
But I wanted to let's bring up gambling again. There's a town in Alabama called Hobson City, Alabama. It was the first incorporated black city in the state of Alabama, the second in the United States. And Alberta McCrory, who is also a Democrat, is one of my friends. And so Alberta is totally against gambling there. And that's why I'm saying this is nonpartisan thing here. And I said, well, why are you so against it? And I am too. First of all, the moral things that, it's just an immoral thing to do. It's taking money away. And she said, because, Donna, she said, most of the people who live in this town are very poor anyway. And when they were wanting to put gambling in the city of Hobson City. I don't know how they were going to do that, but they were going to try to do that. And she said, Donna, they're poor now. There will be no citizens living in this area because they'll be put out of their houses. And, the house is not that good anyway. But she said this would be a horrible thing that would happen to the town of Hobson City. And I was telling her she was just totally against gambling. And she said, I hope it never comes up in the state of Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have to put, if you're going to have a system in place, it needs to be supportive of the state. It can't take from some and give to others. It's just, that's a lousy system, and that's what the income tax is.
As far as gambling goes, I personally don't have a problem at libertarian enough that people should be able to make the choice. But the problem is with gambling, they always try to sell it as something really good for the state.
Like everybody wins.
Yeah, and it really isn't. First of all, there are people who have addiction problems who become addicted and destroy their lives, just like taking drugs. Mm-hmm. But you also have, they try to sell, for education, because, everybody's for education. Mm-hmm. And, but we lived in Georgia when they passed the lottery, and it destroyed education over there because of the Hope Scholarship, which is a wonderful concept, except that no child in elementary school or in elementary or secondary school in Georgia gets below a B, because if they don't have a B average, they can't get the Hope Scholarship. So you don't even have to learn anything. All you have to do is just appear, and you get a B. So to me, it's destructive in every sense. So
you're not teaching ambition. I mean, there's so many things I can find wrong with this, and I'm not even looking. It's just using common sense. Mm-hmm. These are issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, see, remember we got rid of the income tax on overtime last year, and already they were talking about, well, we're going to have to put that back in place because we lost $162 million last year just taking that off. And I'm saying, yeah, because you didn't look at the whole system when you did that. You just took those taxes off and claimed that you'd balanced it off. But you can't do it that way. You've got to fix the whole thing. And that's what the Alabama Economic Freedom Act does in the state. And it's what the fair tax does for the national tax system.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't just put a Band-Aid on a problem. I mean, you've got to find the root of the problem. You got to dig it out if you have to, like a deep cancer, and you have to get it out of there and then replace it with something that's going to work. But it takes a lot of thought to do that. And a lot of thought has been put into fair tax. A lot.
The Americans for Fair Taxation early on in the program spent over $22 million doing private studies of, hey, what does it take to fix the tax system? And they really thought they were going to come back with a flat tax with the IRS still being in there. And they came back and said, no, blow all that up, get it out of the way, and replace it with this, with the fair tax, and it'll solve the problem.
And by the way,
so many things about it.
The fair tax is a flat tax on consumption, not on income.
A flat consumption tax.
Exactly. So one of the problems with the income tax that people, or especially politicians, have, is you don't collect data with fair tax. With the fair tax, when you pay for your whatever you buy, new and used, new goods and services, you're done. You don't have to tell them where you live, how many people live in your house, how much money you make, how much money you give to your children. You don't have to give any kind of information. And in fact, actually, there's one form that you fill out, and it's optional, and that's for the prebate, which is a return of taxes up to the poverty level. So and you could choose not to do that, which would leave you totally anonymous. And in this day and age of the collection of data, that's like an oasis in a sewer. It really is, because they're collecting data at everything you do. So,
well, anyway, you guys have some questions from a lot of our listeners, and Well, Daisy has one, and so you're actually kind of leading me up to her question. I was going to do this in the second part of the show, but she was talking about the data, that, and so it was actually a comment really from Daisy, and she said that actually when she's online, and I've done this before, like you'll get something, maybe even an app on your phone. Let's say you're going to order chicken or something from some company, and then they say you're going to get 1 month free. But to get it free, you still got to put your credit card information and all that stuff in there. Then it takes forever if you decide you want to cancel it, to cancel it out. And so her whole process was just like mine, Daisy, is why do they need all that information? What's that about? Why do you have to have it?
Well, it's a big deal,
it's a marketing thing as far as that data is concerned,
and it's a huge deal, as a matter of fact, because who is that's on Shark Tank? Kevin
O'Leary.
He was talking about how he's moving to Oklahoma, moving a data service to Oklahoma because access to energy there. It takes a huge amount of energy to store this data. But it's a very, very important thing in what in what the future of marketing and sales.
Yeah.
So they're going to get your data anyway. I think you probably can't remain anonymous. But with the fair tax, at least they don't know what you're not going to give it to them through the fair tax.
Because you can maybe I'll decide I want to buy a widget today. And I go out there, and what I do is I don't give my complete information. They want you to set up a username and a password, but if I can avoid that, I don't, because I promise you, I buy that widget and I set up a username and password within 2 minutes. I'm getting emails, I'm getting text, I'm getting all kinds of stuff about widgets.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really an annoying thing.
Yeah. Well, apparently there are programs out there that you can delete or get off of those things.
Delete me
is one I've heard of. I don't know if it works or not. I've just heard of it. It may be another way to collect data. So
Yeah, I know you got to be careful of those.
Yeah. But with the fair tax, the government will not be collecting data that way.
No. Yeah, that you, like Mary Lynn said, if you don't want to take the prebate, which is a return of the taxes up to the poverty level for your family situation, you don't have to. You remain totally anonymous that way. Otherwise, you do have to have your name, address, and your dependents and their social security numbers and your social security numbers. And the head of the household fills that form out and sends it in every year to verify who gets the prebate. And depending on how many bodies are signed up on that form will depend on the size of the prebate.
Mm-hmm.
And a single person gets like $250 a month to pay for the taxes he'd have to pay on what he buys up to the poverty
that's
level.
Federal.
Yes, that's for the federal.
Yeah.
And the poverty level for a single person is $15,060. So you divide that by 12 and multiply it times the 23%, and that's how big your check's going to be each month.
If you want to know how much inflation is, not just a couple of years ago, it was $12,000.
Yeah, that was what a single person needed to live.
Yeah, so it's gone from $12,000 to $15,000 for a single person. For a family, how much is it now for a family? For a family
of four, it's right at $40,000,
and it was $35,000. Mm-hmm. So, they can tell you that Bidenomics has done wonderful things for you, but it's increased it's increased what you have to pay in taxes to a great extent. Inflation is huge.
Okay, let's talk Trump just a little bit, because there's some things, and I've been with you guys long enough that my ears will prick when certain people say certain things. And so one of those, and I've asked y'all about this before, but there's a few other things he has said. If I just wonder, is he looking at something like fair tax because of the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax, Social Security, those things? I mean, what does that mean exactly?
I don't know.
What they have to do is for service. I think it's typically for like waitresses and people, waiters, waitresses, that level. It's not all services, because that would be having to go to the fair tax to figure out who's paying what.
That could be manipulated easily enough, because it would determine you would have to be in a category of people who get tips,
right?
And that can be, they can do that just like they have done with the income tax. With the fair tax, there's no way to. I mean, it doesn't matter, because the only way you pay taxes is when you purchase something new or purchase a service. That's the only time you pay taxes. So, with like I said, with tips, I can see ways to cheat, and then if there's a way to cheat, there are people out there who know who. I mean, if I'm simple enough to be able to figure out a way, they'll have many more ways. Just like with the income tax, getting the refunds in 1 year in Atlanta, there was one post office box that they collected $23 million worth of refunds. One post office box, and the IRS had no clue.
Yeah, you know what? I have some questions about that. Okay, I own a business. I'm going to know when a dollar gets out of whack somewhere. I'm just going to know that. That sounds like a group of people within the government who caused that to happen. Because I don't know how $23 million can just fade into never land.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the Defense Department, has never been audited in 7 years. They've never actually passed an audit. So yeah, there are many ways in the federal government to waste money.
And they do.
And so that's why it's very important who you vote for, not just at the federal level, but at the state level, because there's as much manipulation going on in the state as there is.
See, the other thing that the fair tax does for you is that part of a little article I was reading here that in 2024, earlier this year, 160 million people submitted forms, and so there's 80,000 plus employees that work for the IRS that went through those forms and decided that we're going to audit 0.4% of those guys, but the average return from two people of that 160 million was $3,000. So $3,000 times 160 million bucks, at 160 million people, that's how much money was taken out of the economy and circulated through the government, when it could have been used to for people to purchase goods and services out here to grow our economy and put more people to work, with meaningful jobs, putting them to work.
Yeah, it's never made sense to me why you would send money to the government for them to handle and then hand back a portion of it to you.
The whole thing's a money laundering.
It really is. It is money laundering. And if you if you look at these drones in New Jersey, we are paying for almost $1 trillion a year for a Defense Department that has no clue what's going on. Supposedly, yeah. So, I am pro necessary government, but I don't really want to send money just because. And that's what you're doing with him.
I love the United States, but I also don't like waste, because we don't do waste in my house.
I want to carry this thing over a little bit further, and that's I said you got 160 million people that are filling out those income tax forms, and there are over 2,000 different forms that are required by the IRS. So you can imagine the mess they go through every year. But that turns out to be about, unless I'm mistaken, about 25 million retailers across the U.S. would be the people collecting the fair tax. And in the state of Alabama, the same story. It would only be about 60,000 to 70,000 businesses collecting the Alabama Economic Freedom Act tax. So you can see that you get rid of all kinds of ways to cheat on this thing, because you go in and buy something, you pay the tax, and the retailer has to report it to the state, and then the state reports it to the Fed, and that's it. That's how many points are involved in collecting the tax under the fair tax or the Alabama Freedom.
And another thing that you just reminded me of too. If you look at what happened in North Carolina, those people were depending on the government to come to their aid.
Right.
Well, the government says, well, we don't have any money, so we can't afford to.
Why? Because they've spent it stupid places.
Well, yes, they were. Yeah, but even regardless of that, if you have a state fair tax, and even with the federal fair tax, the state collects the money and sends it to the federal government. Well, they could just say, we've been hit really hard this year. FEMA hasn't done anything for us. We'll just subtract that amount of money from what that it took to make us whole, and we'll send the rest of it to the federal government. That gives states' rights a huge boost.
Mm-hmm.
And and actually, I think if you look at the people in East Palestine, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but those people were abandoned by the federal government. The people in North Carolina were. The state has the authority to take care of it that way. So I think that's another huge thing that can be done with the fair tax.
Well, another thing that people need to understand is sometimes they'll think the wrong branch of government actually governs over a particular thing.
Yeah.
They actually don't. I mean, and I'll just use this for an example. So part of it has been the argument when Trump and Harris were running for office. Harris would say things like, Trump wants to stop abortion. Trump wants to do this. And it was all about abortion and stuff like that. But that's not what that wasn't it. That was not the deal. The deal was he just wanted the states to be able to
be doing the job.
It wasn't saying stop abortion. That's not what he said.
Yeah.
So the point is can't you just let's just pretend that I live in North Carolina, and North Carolina says you can have all the abortions we want. We don't care. But South Carolina says you can't. Why can't I just go across the line? I'll just go across the state line and get it there.
No, that's for the same reason that poor people can't get voter IDs.
Yeah. Everybody can't go across the line to get it done. So you got to have universal.
No, the thing about for the people who spout democracy so much, they're abolishing democracy in abortion, because that's an ultimate democracy when the states determine, the people of the state determine what they want to do regarding abortion. So that isn't what the federal government did. Actually, Trump doesn't even have the authority, have the ability to ban abortion. I wish he did, to be honest.
That was taken away when they got rid of Roe versus Wade.
Yeah. So, there is no.
Well, it's the wrong argument, and it has nothing to do with the problem at hand.
Right, and the executive department of the government doesn't make laws. They're supposed to enforce laws. Now, obviously the executive branch has been choosing which laws they want to enforce, but most we let them get by with it. That's what I don't understand.
Most people will overlook the fact that when Trump is talking about getting rid of the IRS, and there was a survey done here. Elon Musk did a survey, and only 60.9% of the people that he surveyed, 60.9% of 212,000 that took the survey, said get rid of the income tax and the IRS. But there was another, about 39% that said, well, they're doing okay. But the point being that the ones that say they're doing okay don't realize the tentacles that the IRS has out into everything that we touch based on the income tax system. They control us through the income tax system, not just filling out forms, but everything we buy is rippled through with problems with the income tax. So,
well, it's a very potent weapon for the government to use, because they can pick anyone. You may have done nothing wrong, but if they don't like you for some reason,
you're done. They
can go after you year after year after year. And even if you've been totally innocent, they can still come back. And the cost to you for your audit is huge.
And you pay for it.
You pay for it. They don't. And if they have made a mistake, we have been audited once. And it was the first year we bought a house. And we had 3 small children at the time, and they came after us, told us we owed money because charitable items that we had donated. They said we had said, I think we had donated a stove that was a working stove, and we had, I don't remember how much it was that we had deducted from our income tax. But when all was said and done, after the audit, they owed us $125, which at the time was a huge amount of money, especially to us. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, I'll tell you what, we'll just call it even.
No, I want you to pay that with interest and penalties.
Yeah, that
plus all of the headaches it caused me for me to prove myself to be correct.
Yeah,
that's what I had to do. Yeah,
yeah. So it's a kangaroo court for one thing.
You are considered guilty until you prove your innocence.
Yeah.
Yes, it's happened to me too. And let me tell you something else that happened. This was within the state of Alabama. And so there was an issue where I had to prove that I was a business owner. Now get this. I've got a federal ID number, 74281855. Okay. I've got that federal ID number, which proves I am a business. I've been paying taxes. I've bought a, why would I buy a business license if I were not a business? And so then I sent that, and they said that wasn't enough. And I'm like, this is to the state of Alabama, state taxes. They said that I owed like, I don't know, $1,200 or something like that. And what they do is they hope that you'll get so aggravated and so fed that you'll just say, okay, I'll pay it. Mm-hmm. That's what they hope. But I'm not like that. I'll fight it tooth and nail. I don't care what I've got to do. But I had to prove I was a business. And I said, by the way, I've sold ads through the state of Alabama. You thought I was a business then?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so where do they come up with this stupid stuff?
Well,
it's one arm of the outfit not knowing what the other arm's doing.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, every citizen of Alabama, and they should all go to Montgomery and spend a week. Yeah. And just go
watch that stuff.
Yeah, go watch it, and you'll know exactly why you're paying.
They've got a little grandstand up above everything. You can sit there and listen to that stuff.
It's mind numbing, to be honest.
Yeah, I've been there.
And you ask a question: how in the world did that person get voted into office? Well, they represent their constituents. And that's why they get voted into office.
So.
And how dare you call them down about something?
Oh, yeah.
And you can be the sweetest sweet tea person on earth, and they'll still find a reason that you're the one who's being disruptive.
Right.
They'll do that. Okay, let's go into a commercial break, and we're going to be right back. Can you believe half the show? Wow. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. Y'all hang in there.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Because of your overwhelming support, our 1488 MyPillow has been one of the biggest sales in MyPillow history. I couldn't think of a better way to say thank you than to extend our wholesale pricing through Christmas. Get a classic standard MyPillow for only $14.88. Upgrade to a queen size, just $18.88. King size, only $1 more. Get my body pillows for only $29.88. And ready? Multi-use MyPillows, only $9.88. It's perfect time to stock up for Christmas gifts for everyone on your list. Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our wholesale pricing, including my classic standard MyPillows, only $14.88. But that's not all. I'm so confident you're going to love our classic MyPillows that I'm going to extend my 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, orders over $75 ship absolutely free.
The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is number one as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Good afternoon. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. Central, as I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. You can find us on television, 182 Charter Communications. You can also find us syndicated on Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. I'm so proud to be part of the Newscasters. I mean, it's just an amazing bunch of hosts that are out there. I'm just tickled to be part of it. Also, one of my guests that I've had on the show for many, many years, AP Sedum, is a sportscaster, and he's one of the new hosts out there. So congratulations to AP for having that also as a platform. The podcasters, again, it's thepodcasters.com. Check us out on all the social media sites as well. We appreciate you doing that. Coming up after the first of the year, working on some more things, and we'll have some more suggestions and also some more things, more ways that you're going to be able to see the show as well. So we're really excited about that. We'll be moving into South Carolina And we're really excited about that as well. Found a house. We're going to have part studio in the basement of that house. And that kind of made me think of Joe Rumore. Do you guys remember Joe Rumore?
Oh, yeah.
Actually, the talk show host back from the 1960s. And so my parents always listened to him. And this is back in the day.
WBAM.
Yeah. And you know something? He actually hosted his show out of the basement of his house.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always thought, when I was a kid, I would think, man, that just would be so awesome to actually have a business out of the basement of your house. And so anyway, it's happening for us. So we're really excited about that happening with technology. And we're tickled today also about the internet service out there because it is fiber. And so it's going to be really, really good internet service. We're excited about that. So we'll be able to get more information out there to you other ways. So we're really excited about that. Continue sending emails, Donna@donnasedge.com. Got Chuck and Mary Lynn Bailey with me, and they are with Alabama Fair Tax. And so we've been talking about, we have some questions. A lot of questions have to do with the prebate, and you guys have went on and talked about that. But I wanted to mention Matt Harding. Matt, you are actually going to win the book. And so let's talk about that. So you can send the emails, Donna@donnasedge.com, with questions that you have for Chuck and Mary Lynn Bailey. And so you'll be in the drawing for a book. Are you guys running out of those books yet?
We buy them as often as we can. I had a caveat here. Now, these are used books because the book is no longer in print. So we do go out. Every time we can find them, we buy them.
Well, so I haven't found any that are, in really bad shape or anything. It's just that sometimes they'll be on a shelf and they'll be in the sun and they'll be faded, but that's about the most you've ever had any problems with them.
Yeah. Well, they're easy to read.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you're lucky enough to find notes that people have written in there too.
I think the ones we get are don't
pretty
have notes.
Yeah. So far. Yeah, we've actually, I always look for the ones that are in very good shape. So, but they're getting hard to find. So we may at some point not be able to do this anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the last printing was about 2009 or 10, something like that. So the information's not bad. It's still good information.
Yeah. Yeah, you can still get it out there. And also if you're an Audible customer, you can get it on Audible too. So actually Amazon has it too. So, and it's actually fun to listen to because Neil Bortz narrates it. And
you talking about Kindle for Amazon?
No, I'm talking about Audible.
Oh, Audible.
Audible's on Amazon too. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, you get to hear that voice. So Kathy had a question for you, and this does, of course, pertains to fair tax, but she wants to know the people who are in office right now within the state of Alabama, are there any opposers to fair tax?
Yes, there are.
It's because they're not listening, they don't quite understand. I'd like to have that list myself.
No, I tell you, it's the what it is that we don't have enough voices coming from the public to these people because they actually react to their constituency, especially if it's a barrage. I heard, or someone told me one time that if you get 30 emails to a representative, they'll stand up and take notice. So that's really not a lot, considering the number of people out there. It's just that, it's something that people don't take the time to do. And,
well, that sounds a whole lot for the person who's in office who doesn't think that one voice matters.
Mm-hmm.
If you've just got one voice, I think you need to listen to that if you're in office, sir or ma'am.
Well, depending on what they're saying.
It depends. It depends. If you get a diverse grouping of emails about a specific subject, you kind of say, "Whoa, that's a bunch of different kinds of people that are for this thing," and so. They may even go out and start trying to find out what it's all about.
Yeah, actually, most of the representatives are in office because they have a particular agenda.
Right.
There's something that they're passionate about, and
it's hard to break through that sometimes.
Well, yeah, and so if they're they have to hear from people. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
And we need for people to contact their politicians.
It has to be every district too. It can't just be a few districts.
Yeah.
You pick the population areas and hit those hard, but they've got to have outliers in the country, so to speak, that are speaking the same language, or they won't listen.
You've asked about Donald Trump. He has made a lot of promises about income tax, and again, the fair tax will address every one of those things, and it'll also address Social Security, which is something that we're really on the edge of losing. But Caroline Levitt, who is his spokesperson, doesn't like the fair tax.
She doesn't understand.
I don't know what her reason is, but she is the one who was the author of those political announcements against. Okay, help me out here. DeSantis. Yes, I keep wanting to say Bongino.
Don't call him.
No, against DeSantis, saying he wanted to raise taxes by 23%, and
the big lie.
Yeah, that is a big lie. Yeah. The other thing was, he wants to take away Social Security. Well, actually, what the fair tax does is it ensures that Social Security will exist, because it takes it from being a pyramid scheme to a
everybody
pay as you go. So
everybody that buys new products and services pays for the Social Security.
Right. So
realize that. Remember, I said 160 million people are paying the reported income tax earlier this year. That goes up to 450 million people easily, because you got roughly 330 for American citizens that have to pay one way or another income tax, and then you have the 50 million or so people visiting us from foreign lands and spending money in the United States. They'll be paying the tax,
and the illegals will be paying it.
And the illegals will be paying tax, and none of those people get the rebate, so they're paying the full 23% on the tax. Mm-hmm. And then you've got other people here on business visas for this and that that are here for any length of time. And Mo Brooks told us a couple of years back that all adds up to be about 450 million people compared to 160 million people paying into the Social Security system.
Yeah, and then when you add our newcomers, that increases. But let me just say that the 23% sounds like a lot when until you consider that 16.5% is what you're paying in Social Security right now. If you're employed, that's what you're paying, and
plus about 18% on the average more for your products you buy because of the embedded taxes in there.
And then plus, if you're in the lowest percentile of the income taxpayers, it's the 10%. You pay 10%. So it's actually, someone once said, it's not a 23% tax; it's a 1% tax, because the average taxes that are embedded that we're paying that we don't see, it's almost like a virtual VAT is 22%. So you take that out and pay the 23% when you buy new goods and services, and you're really getting a bargain.
And here's the magic of the prebate. You pay 23% tax, but remember, up to the poverty level, you're not paying anything, because you're getting the prebate there every month to take care of your monthly bills. But at the same time, when you average out across the amount of money you have to spend to actually pay 23%, you've got to be up to over $1 million, spending $1 million to even start approaching the full 23%, because up to the poverty level, like for a single person, up to $15,060, you're not paying any tax. So the first tax you pay is when you spend $15,061, and you'll pay 23% on that first dollar after the poverty level. So it takes a long time for you to effectively pay that 23%.
And if you double that, then you're paying approximately 11%. So it just, every time you double it, I think you pay another
percent or so.
Yeah, and if you accept the prebate, you never reach 23%.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to go on ahead and mention this question, and this is from Andy and Pat. And so they had a question about inheritances. And I'll just say this, because one of the reasons we actually bought my inheritance was not to pay taxes. I mean, it sounds like a crazy. I mean, some of my friends have said, "You bought your inheritance." Yeah, I bought my inheritance. I figured in the long run, I was saving thousands of dollars, and I know I did not buy it for $1,000. We paid fair market value what it was valued at, but I could see the value going up, so that's why we made the decision to do that. And so, Andy and Pat wanted to mention that they have noticed. There was a time when families would hold on to real estate. Whether it's a business or whether it's a farm, which is a business, or just property as well. Would this help with that?
In the famous words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, "Listen to me now, believe me later." When you get rid of the income tax, what are you doing with inheritance tax? You're blowing it out of the water. It's gone.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
And the thing about it's so insidious too, the inheritance tax is, because it's not to raise money.
It's just
to part you from your land or from your inheritance. They use that very effectively in the UK.
Right.
People, earls and dukes, owned all of these mansions. Well, now the UK owns.
Now the UK owns.
Yeah. So it's something you have to sell.
They open them up for museums and all of that.
Right. So, that's what the inheritance tax was all about. So, just
another way to take money in from the government.
So there's so many ways that income tax is just evil. It just is. It's evil, and
you're going all spiritual on me here now.
But the fair tax actually is so. If you believe in freedom, and I do, I think that's why I'm so passionate about the fair tax. If you believe in freedom, it's the ultimate freedom, because you no longer are directed by the state as to what you have to do, and you're not working.
The thing that just absolutely blows my mind is that somebody cannot pay their $1,000 or whatever dollars a year for their taxes and can lose their home. It's kind of like homeowners association fees. I actually know someone who lost their home. They made their home payments on time, but they did not pay the homeowners association fees. They got into a rift because they were being blown on stupid stuff, kind of like our taxes. And they couldn't see the reason for paying the homeowners association fees. So they paying it. Lost their house.
I don't. Then that would not be affected
somewhere along the line. They signed on a dotted line saying that they could take their house if they didn't pay the home.
Well, that would not be affected by the fair tax. That's a separate contract.
Yeah, that's a contract.
But
no, I understand. But my point is, it's all the same.
It is, and actually, it's becoming more and more of a problem now. We traditionally have had fairly low property tax here in Alabama, but they have passed a law saying they can only raise the property tax by 7% a year.
Oh, is that all?
That's all, and that can compound. And depending on what the state decides, they can raise that property tax as much as they want to. And I know that I have a sister and brother who live in Texas. They know people who have had to mortgage their home in order to pay their taxes. And that also, I saw this podcast about it was basically a economic thing, and talking about how if you wait a little while with the interest rates going up, people are not going to be able to pay the taxes on their homes. And so you can buy taxes cheaply just going to a tax lien auction. I mean, to me, that sounds really evil, but the fact is that there are going to be people coming, because of our debt, there are going to be people who are really going to suffer more so than others. I think we're all going to suffer to some extent, but not being able to pay your property tax can soon, I sound like the voice of doom, but I'm really concerned about it. I think that here in Alabama, we can do something about it now, and for do away with the problem now while it's still a small problem.
Yeah, but people are not being taught these things in school. They don't understand the difference of a half of a percentage. If you can get, let's say I don't know what the percentage rates are now, but let's just say 5%, just for easy addition. Okay, so say I buy a house for 5%, and then it goes up to 5.4%. or 5.5%. So it goes up like 0.25% like that. That's a huge difference for some people in their house payment.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on what your house payment is, 0.25% can be huge to a lot of folks.
Well, I know that when we lived in Georgia, the property tax on our house was about 6 times what we're paying now, and it was the house that we live in now costs more than the house that we sold. So we're really lucky here in Alabama, but we may not be lucky for much, for forever.
Well, if our folks in legislature are listening to us, I can say pretty darn well that we probably won't be any better off than they are anywhere else.
Well, it alarmed me when they said that they could only raise it by 7%, because when the income tax started out, it was a flat tax, 3%, and you had to make above, I think it was $3,000 a year, which was a huge amount of money at the time, and that was rich. And it was 3,000, 30,000.
Well, I think it was 1% up to 3,000, and above that was a bunch of money. But it was like $500,000 you had to start stepping up, graduated. But in general, for the people that were going to have to pay the tax, it was a flat tax, more or less. Everybody paid about the same.
But they could only raise the percentage of they initially had discussed limiting that tax, that percentage, and then they said no, it will never reach 10%.
They said, well, we shouldn't do that, because otherwise people just go right up to that value as a tax.
Yeah.
And well, they did, and
they did.
And they did.
They did. So we were, at one point it was 90% tax on income.
No, it was 94% at one time.
Okay, well, I didn't.
Now they had a few loopholes built into it, so that the millionaires and billionaires, I don't know if many billionaires in, but the high rollers didn't have to pay much tax, other than typically for a person paying tax at that time. But
who were essentially people who were in office.
Yeah. But when we had our first study done for the state of Alabama, we found that if you added a penny to the tax, you wouldn't have to have a property tax in the state of Alabama, because that would more than pay for the property taxes that you collect now. But then the problem you get into is all the little piggies start squealing then, because, hey, wait a minute, I got this special deal in my local area, and that's going to go away if you do that, and I won't get what I'm getting now. I won't get my fair share and all this kind of stuff. But if you get rid of that and use a formula so that they get whatever they were getting previously.
Yeah, it is the revenue.
Lost.
It's the revenue neutral tax. I haven't mentioned that. Yeah, which means that it collects the same amount of money. Actually, it collects more than the income tax does, because you don't have all the money. You don't have all the people handling the money. You don't have to pay. You get rid of the 87,000 people that are collecting that tax, and it just goes to the treasury. So,
if y'all ever heard the old adage, they'll say, well, you know what? They're what is it? They're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Yeah. To me, that seems what the government does. They rob Peter to pay Paul.
That's what all the tax stuff is robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And and Peter's getting screwed. And Paul's making out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was thinking about this, and there are some liberals that I know of. I don't understand why you're a liberal. And I'm just going to use Martha Stewart as an example. Okay. Martha Stewart had some inside information, so she wound up going to prison.
Right.
Why is she a liberal?
Don't know.
I don't get why you would be a liberal. Okay, so she had to go to prison because she had some inside information. What about all those people who are in office who are basically doing the same thing you are?
You're talking about Ms. Pelosi?
Well, all you do is look at the people who go into office and stay in office for the rest of their. Yeah, they very seldom go in as rich as they are when they at the end. Nancy Pelosi's husband. I think he was a banker or real estate. I don't know what his thing was, but they had money, And
Now they got a
but
lot
now
of
they
money.
got a lot of money, and that's typical.
She got hurt over the weekend, didn't she?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happens. I heard that she fell, but I really didn't follow the
Understood she
news
had to
on
stick
that.
around and get an operation for it, with her. She hurt her leg or something.
Someone said that. No, I'm not even going to say because it's speculation. I'm not just that what her injury was.
You know what these career politicians make me think of? Phil and I used to be in the placement personnel service. We used to own a Snelling franchise back in the 1980s. And what I always noticed, if somebody was looking for a replacement for their job, they always wanted to be the person who found the replacement. Later on, you would hear the reason is because they were embezzling. And they thought, well, I'll get one of my friends in there, and then I won't never get caught. But they always get caught. But anyway, they always thought they wouldn't get caught. It just reminds me of the government, the way it works.
Yeah, well, I kind of don't think they always get caught. They're truly, yeah.
But I was always wonder, and I would go, you've been playing something.
Well, I have to say, this is just speculation again, but all these blanket pardons that, Biden pardoned some Chinese spies. I kind of think maybe, they were getting their money. They're paying their what is it what Trump was accused of doing, paying off the people who got the evidence. So I don't know.
Why would you give a pardon to a Chinese spy?
Well, why would you have a general who would give our information, military information, to the Chinese? And why is he not in jail? That's to me.
And he said on we saw it on national TV. He says I called my counterpart in China and told him that I'll tell you if we're ever going to attack you, so you don't have to worry about it.
He was proud of that, and then that's the same way that Joe Biden said. He gave him gave Ukraine $6 billion, and and by God,
that's not me saying that somebody told me that. I saw his lips moving when he said it on a news report.
Oh, yeah. Is that not some sort of a red flag? Does that not mean it might be important who we hire when we go to the voting booth and we vote?
And that's the reason why you're seeing
it might be important.
That's the reason why you're seeing the fact that Trump started out working on his administration 3 or 4 months ago, and he's lining them up, and he's pretty much, after they got rid of what's the kid's name from Florida. After they got rid of Matt Gaetz, well, then from then on, he stood up and said, "No, Hicks's my man, Tulsi's my gal, blah 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 blah," on down the line. And
that's kind of what business people do.
And put people, the senators are falling in line too, because
that's good.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk over at Turning Point says, "You senators that are against Hicksett, get ready for a good fight next time you run for office."
We got people to primary.
We got people to primary.
Yeah, I actually saw.
That's the way you got to handle those rhinos.
I saw it was a newscast. It was one of the. It was not Newsmax but it was one of those newer podcast news agencies, and Mitt Romney was being interviewed, and he actually came out and had good things to say about Trump, which is amazing to me because he voted against Trump in the impeachment.
Trump must be on to him about something. Guys, we're going to have to call it a day. Thank you so much for watching Donna's Edge Talk Show. You can find us on television, channel 182 Charter, Abundant Television syndicated, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Chuck and Marilyn Bailey, thank you so much for everything that you do. And thank you for being on the show with me. Hang around. We're going to get you set up for January, okay?
Okay, good.
And thank you guys so much for watching. And thank you for continually sending emails. We definitely appreciate that as well. And I promise I'll get to all of these questions maybe next time. So you guys take care. Bye-bye.